The Galactic Council laughed when humanity joined the stars. They called us primitive, weak, a species that would never survive among the great empires of the galaxy. But exactly 3 years later, those same leaders were running for their lives as a single human commander stood between Earth and complete extinction. What they didn't know was that humanity had been preparing in secret. Beneath Earth's oceans, under its mountains, and even on the moon, an ancient fleet was waiting to awaken. This isn't just a story about aliens invading Earth. It's the story of betrayal, sacrifice, and the day the entire galaxy discovered the most dangerous mistake it had ever made: underestimating humanity. No one remembered the exact day humanity became part of the galaxy. History books claimed it was called First Contact. The survivors called it the beginning of humanity's greatest mistake. The stars stretched endlessly beyond Earth's atmosphere as thousands of ships drifted peacefully through the orbital lanes surrounding the blue planet. Children looked toward the sky with excitement. Scientists celebrated. Politicians smiled before cameras. For the first time in history, humanity believed it wasn't alone. It believed it had finally found friends. Commander Ethan Hayes didn't share that excitement. Standing inside Earth's largest orbital defense station, he watched dozens of alien diplomatic vessels approaching through the viewing glass. "They're early," his second-in-command, Lieutenant Maya Carter, said quietly. Ethan didn't answer immediately. His sharp blue eyes remained fixed on the enormous flagship leading the convoy. "It isn't their arrival that worries me," he finally replied. "It's why they're smiling." Only 5 years earlier, humanity had discovered faster-than-light travel. It was considered impossible. Within months, human explorers crossed star systems that had remained unreachable for thousands of years. That achievement attracted attention, not admiration. Attention. Soon, a message reached Earth from the Galactic Council, the oldest political alliance in known space. The invitation sounded generous. Join the galaxy. Share technology. Build peace. No one mentioned the price. Inside the Council Citadel, representatives from hundreds of civilizations gathered beneath a massive crystal dome that overlooked an ocean-sized artificial world. The architecture alone made Earth seem primitive. Floating cities, artificial suns, gravity controlled by invisible fields, living buildings that changed shape every hour. Human delegates stared in silent amazement. Alien delegates stared back with something entirely different: amusement. Commander Ethan Hayes walked beside Ambassador Olivia Grant toward the center platform. Whispers echoed around them. "So these are the humans. They're smaller than expected. They still breathe oxygen. I heard their strongest weapons still use physical projectiles. They're centuries behind." Some laughed openly. Others didn't even bother hiding their disappointment. Olivia forced a diplomatic smile. Ethan noticed every insult. He simply remained silent. At the center of the chamber sat High Chancellor Via Rex, leader of the Galactic Council. The towering alien rose from his throne. His silver eyes examined the human delegation like a scientist studying an insect. "So," his deep voice echoed across the chamber, "these are the famous humans." A hologram of Earth appeared above the room. So much ambition, so little advancement. Several council members chuckled. VA Rex continued, "You reached the stars by accident. You survived because stronger civilizations ignored your existence." The laughter became louder. "But perhaps," he added with a mocking smile, "you may still prove useful." The room erupted with applause. Only the human delegation remained silent. After the ceremony, Ethan stood alone on one of the Citadel's observation balconies. Maya joined him. "You handled that well." "I wasn't trying to. They insulted us." "I know. You aren't angry?" Ethan looked toward the endless sea of stars. "I'm angry. But anger wins nothing. They've already decided who we are. So we'll let our actions speak instead." Weeks passed. Human engineers shared scientific research, medical discoveries, agricultural breakthroughs, clean energy systems. Earth offered everything freely. The Council accepted every gift. They offered almost nothing in return. Every request for advanced technology was delayed. Every military proposal was rejected. Every vote placed humanity at the bottom. Officially, humans were equal members. Reality looked very different. Back on Earth, people slowly noticed the truth. Trade agreements favored older civilizations. Mining rights disappeared. Human colonies were denied protection. Merchant fleets paid unfair taxes. Pirates somehow ignored every alien convoy. but repeatedly attacked human transports. The Council always responded the same way. We're investigating. No investigation ever changed anything. One evening, Ethan received an encrypted transmission from Captain Daniel Ross aboard the cargo ship Atlas Dawn. The captain looked exhausted. We've requested military escorts 3 times. No response. Unknown ships are following us. Ethan frowned. Send your coordinates. We already did. The Council says no fleets are available. Static filled the transmission. Daniel lowered his voice. I don't think they're coming. The signal suddenly disappeared. 3 days later, the Atlas Dawn was found drifting through space. Its engines had been destroyed. Its cargo stolen. Every crew member was dead. Not one escape pod had launched. The Council declared the attack the work of independent space pirates. Case closed. The funeral on Earth was unlike anything Ethan had witnessed. Hundreds of families gathered beneath dark skies. Children held photographs of parents who would never return. A little girl approached Ethan after the ceremony. She couldn't have been older than 8. Were you supposed to protect them? Ethan froze. Yes. Then why didn't you? He couldn't answer. She simply nodded. I thought so. Then she walked away. Those words haunted him more than any battlefield ever had. Late that night, Ethan entered the Underground Strategic Defense Command beneath Geneva. Only a handful of people possessed clearance. President Eleanor Brooks waited beside a holographic star map. So, she asked quietly, what do you think? Ethan looked around the room. Military leaders, scientists, intelligence officers. Every face carried the same expression. Concern. They don't see us as allies. No, they see us as workers, as customers, as expendable. The president nodded. And if one day they decide Earth is inconvenient? Silence filled the room. Finally, Ethan answered. They'll eliminate us. No one argued. Because everyone had reached the same conclusion. The president activated another hologram. Hidden shipyards appeared beneath Earth's oceans. Secret research stations buried beneath Antarctica. Underground factories on Mars. Lunar defense platforms still under construction. Maya stared in disbelief. When did all this begin? The president smiled sadly. The day we joined the council. Everyone looked at her. I hoped we'd never need any of it. But hope, she paused, isn't a defense strategy. Ethan slowly walked toward the holographic fleet. Hundreds of unfinished warships rotated before him. Experimental rail cannons. Adaptive shield technology. Artificial intelligence battle systems. Everything had been developed in complete secrecy. How long until they're operational? Ethan asked. 2 years, one engineer replied. Maybe less. Ethan nodded once. Then we don't have 2 years to waste. For the first time since first contact, humanity stopped asking for acceptance. It quietly began preparing for survival. Far beyond Earth's borders, hidden in the darkness between stars, dozens of unknown warships suddenly changed course. Their destination was unmistakable, Earth, and aboard the lead vessel, an alien commander smiled as he whispered one chilling order. Begin Phase 1. The emergency meeting inside Earth's Strategic Defense Command lasted until sunrise. No one spoke louder than necessary. No one smiled. The holographic star map floating above the command table displayed a disturbing pattern. Every major pirate attack during the last 3 years had one thing in common. Only human ships were being targeted. Commander Ethan Hayes folded his arms. This isn't piracy. Admiral Victor Kane looked up. What do you think it is? Ethan zoomed in on the map. The attacks formed a perfect line stretching from Earth's trade routes to the galactic core. Someone is testing our defenses. Silence filled the room. President Eleanor Brooks broke it. The council? Ethan didn't answer immediately. I don't have proof. But I don't believe in coincidences anymore. 3 days later, humanity received another invitation from the Galactic Council. This time it wasn't a celebration. It was called the Summit of Security. Every major civilization would attend. Earth was expected to present its future military plans. Lieutenant Maya Carter frowned as she read the invitation. They've rejected every request we've made for defense technology. And now they suddenly care about our military? Ethan gave a cold smile. They don't care. They're curious. The council citadel looked even larger than Ethan remembered. Thousands of alien warships orbited the artificial planet like silent guardians. Human vessels were directed to the outer docking ring. The closest docking bays belonged to the most powerful empires. Another reminder of Earth's place. At least, the the place they believed humanity deserved. Inside the Grand Assembly Hall, hundreds of alien delegates filled the massive chamber. Towering insect-like generals, reptilian admirals, machines with glowing blue cores, creatures made entirely of liquid crystal. The diversity was breathtaking. The respect toward humanity was non-existent. As Ethan walked through the hall, conversations stopped. Then whispers began. The humans actually built a fleet? I heard they still manufacture kinetic weapons. Primitive. They probably think courage wins wars. Laughter echoed around the chamber. Maya clenched her fists. They never stop. Ethan whispered. Good. She looked confused. They're underestimating us. High Chancellor VA Rex entered the chamber. The room instantly fell silent. The summit will begin. Massive holograms appeared above every delegate. Fleet sizes, economic power, technological rankings, military capability. Every civilization received applause. Until Earth appeared. Population, economy, technology, fleet strength, rank, 173. The room exploded with laughter. One reptilian ambassador stood. So this is the famous warrior species? Another added. My hunting drones have higher combat ratings. Even several council officials laughed openly. Maya stood abruptly. That's enough. Ethan gently stopped her. Sit. They're insulting humanity. I know. So why aren't we answering? His eyes never left the stage. Because they're making a mistake. VA Rex raised one hand. The council has reached another decision. The hologram changed. A new map appeared. Human colonies near the Orion frontier were highlighted in red. Due to increasing pirate activity, the council will temporarily transfer security authority to the Zareth Dominion. Ethan's expression changed. Those weren't empty systems. More than 12 million humans lived there. Ambassador Olivia Grant stood. Those colonies belong to Earth. VA Rex nodded. Officially. But humanity lacks sufficient military capability. The council believes stronger civilizations should protect them. Protect. Everyone knew what that word really meant. Occupation. Olivia refused. We reject this proposal. Several delegates laughed again. VA Rex smiled. You misunderstand. This isn't a proposal. It is a vote. Hundreds of lights appeared above the chamber. Green. Red. Within seconds, the result appeared. Approved. Only Earth voted against it. Humanity had just lost nearly a quarter of its frontier territory, without firing a single shot. As the meeting ended, Ethan walked toward the observation deck overlooking the endless stars. His jaw tightened. Maya joined him. I've never hated anyone before today. You still don't. I think I do. Ethan remained silent. Then a calm voice interrupted them. You shouldn't have come. Both turned. Standing behind them was an elderly alien wearing dark silver robes. His name badge read, Archivist Solka, one of the oldest historians in the galaxy. I've read every record about your species, Solka said quietly. And you remind me of another civilization. What happened to them? The old alien looked toward the stars. They trusted the council. They no longer exist. Before Ethan could ask another question, security officers approached. Solka immediately stepped back. I've already said too much. He handed Ethan a tiny crystal device. Don't open it here. Then he disappeared into the crowd. Maya whispered, should we report this? Ethan slipped the crystal into his pocket. No. Hours later, the human delegation departed the Citadel. As Earth's diplomatic cruiser entered hyperspace, warning alarms suddenly echoed across the bridge. Unknown vessels detected. 3. No. 12 ships. They're locking weapons. Maya shouted. They're not transmitting identification. Bright red plasma beams ripped across space. The diplomatic escort exploded instantly. Fire engulfed the stars. The bridge shook violently. Captain Lewis yelled. Direct hit. Our shields are collapsing. Another explosion. The ship spun uncontrollably. Ethan grabbed the command rail. Return fire. We're outnumbered. I didn't ask for the odds. Human railguns fired. Solid tungsten rounds screamed across the darkness. One enemy fighter vanished in a brilliant explosion. The bridge erupted in cheers. Then, 20 more enemy ships emerged from hyperspace. Maya stared in disbelief. It's an ambush. Back on Earth, Strategic Defense Command received the emergency signal. President Brooks looked pale. Can we reach them? No. Can we send reinforcements? The operations officer lowered his head. They're too far away. For the first time in decades, Earth could only watch. Inside the damaged cruiser, emergency lights flickered. Hull breaches spread across every deck. Smoke filled the corridors. Crew members dragged the wounded toward escape pods. Ethan helped the young engineer to her feet. She looked terrified. "Commander, are we going to die?" He looked through the shattered observation window. Alien warships surrounded them from every direction. He could already see another volley charging. Ethan slowly drew his sidearm. His voice remained calm. "Not today." Then every light on the bridge suddenly went dark. The attacking fleet froze. A single unknown warship emerged from hyperspace. Black, silent, unlike anything humanity, or even the Galactic Council, had ever seen. On its hull glowed one ancient symbol. A symbol hidden inside the crystal device, now resting in Ethan's pocket. Silence. For one impossible moment, the battlefield stood completely still. The alien warships that had been seconds away from destroying the human diplomatic cruiser suddenly powered down their weapons. Even their targeting systems disappeared. Commander Ethan Hayes stared through the cracked bridge window. The unknown ship floated between both fleets like a shadow. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. No bright engines. No glowing weapons. No military insignia recognized by the Galactic Council. Only a single silver symbol engraved across its black hull. The exact same symbol hidden inside the crystal device that Archivist Solka had secretly given him. Lieutenant Maya Carter looked at Ethan. "You've seen that symbol before." Ethan slowly reached into his pocket. The crystal began glowing with a soft blue light. "I think it has seen us." Without warning, every communication system aboard the human cruiser activated simultaneously. A calm mechanical voice echoed through every deck. "Commander Ethan Hayes. Authorization confirmed." The bridge crew looked around in confusion. Captain Lewis whispered, "Who authorized anything?" The voice continued, "Humanity has finally arrived." Before Ethan could respond, the mysterious warship vanished. Not into hyperspace, not through a jump gate. It simply disappeared. A second later, it reappeared directly behind the alien flagship. No engines, no warning, no detectable movement. The alien commander barely had time to react. A single beam of white light struck his vessel. There was no explosion, no fire. The flagship simply dissolved into glowing particles. Thousands of alien soldiers. Gone. In one shot. Every remaining enemy ship immediately retreated into hyperspace. The battle had ended in less than 20 seconds. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Captain Lewis finally broke the silence. "What was that?" Ethan had no answer. Back on Earth, Strategic Defense Command received only one transmission. A recording, 3 seconds long. The image showed the unknown black vessel. Then, nothing. Military analysts replayed it hundreds of times. No known propulsion, no weapon signature, no energy trail. It was as if physics itself had chosen to obey someone else. President Eleanor Brooks looked toward Admiral Kane. "Can we build something like that?" The admiral slowly shook his head. "We can't even explain what we just witnessed." 2 days later, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. This time, their confidence was gone. Every representative looked uneasy. High Chancellor VA Rex stood before the chamber. The diplomatic attack against Earth was carried out by unauthorized extremists. Ethan almost laughed. 3 days earlier they had called humanity weak. Now they suddenly sounded diplomatic. Ambassador Olivia Grant stood. "So the council had nothing to do with the ambush?" VA Rex answered without hesitation. "Correct." Ethan noticed something strange. VA Rex wasn't looking at the humans. He kept glancing toward the empty seat at the back of the chamber, as if expecting someone or something. The meeting ended quickly. No applause, no mockery, only fear. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Archivist Solka appeared once more. This time his face looked pale. "You must leave immediately." "What is happening?" Ethan asked. "They know." "Who?" "The ones beyond the council." Ethan frowned. "What does that mean?" Solka leaned closer. "The council doesn't rule this galaxy." Ethan's heartbeat slowed. It never has. Before another word could be spoken, emergency alarms exploded throughout the citadel. Red lights flashed across every wall. A terrified officer shouted, "Unknown fleet detected." Impossible numbers. Hundreds. No. Thousands of ships. Every delegate rushed toward the observation windows. Then they saw them. An ocean of black warships, stretching farther than the eye could see. Not one, not 100. Thousands. Every ship carried the same silver symbol. The entire Galactic Council froze. VA Rex whispered only one sentence. They found us. Panic spread instantly. Civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years suddenly forgot diplomacy. Some delegates screamed. Others ran. Military commanders demanded evacuation. For the first time, the mighty Galactic Council looked completely helpless. Then every screen inside the Citadel turned black. One face appeared. A woman. Human. She looked no older than 30. Silver eyes. White military uniform. Calm expression. Her voice echoed through the station. Attention, Galactic Council. Nobody breathed. Your crimes have been recorded. VA Rex shouted. Who are you? She ignored him. Her eyes moved directly toward Ethan. Commander Hayes. Ethan stepped forward. I'm here. She smiled. The archive has chosen correctly. Maya whispered. She knows your name. The mysterious woman continued. My designation is Astra. I am the final custodian of the first civilization. Confused whispers filled the chamber. One elderly delegate nearly collapsed. No, it can't be. The first civilization was destroyed. Astra calmly answered. No, we left. The entire chamber fell silent. For millions of years, Astra continued. We observed emerging civilizations. We interfered only once, when a species attempted to enslave every other race. Her silver eyes narrowed. They called themselves the Galactic Council. Shock spread across the chamber. VA Rex immediately interrupted. She's lying. Astra ignored him again. For 12,000 years, you conquered weaker civilizations. You erased histories. You manipulated wars. You forced obedience. You called it peace. The holograms around the chamber suddenly changed. Secret recordings appeared. Destroyed planets. Mass executions. Entire civilizations wiped from existence. Documents. Orders. Council signatures. Every crime. Every lie. Broadcast live. Across the entire galaxy. Delegates stared in horror. Many representatives slowly turned toward VA Rex. Some stepped away from him. Others reached for their weapons. The truth had finally escaped. Astra spoke one final sentence. The Council's judgment begins now. Every black warship outside activated its weapons. Not toward Earth. Toward the Council fleet. Thousands of energy signatures lit the darkness. The stars themselves seemed to tremble. Commander Ethan looked through the massive observation window. This isn't a rescue. Maya quietly answered. No, it's an execution. At that exact moment, deep beneath Earth's surface, humanity's secret shipyards detected another signal. One that froze every scientist in the command center. The hidden fleets under construction had been activated by someone who wasn't human. The alarm spread across Earth's underground command network in less than 3 seconds. Every classified military facility received the same message. Unauthorized activation detected. Commander Ethan Hayes stared at the holographic screen aboard the Council Citadel. Somewhere beneath Earth, someone had activated Project Prometheus, the project that only 7 people in the entire human government knew existed. President Eleanor Brooks immediately opened an encrypted channel. Strategic Command, report. General Marcus Reed's face appeared on the screen, covered in sweat. Madam President, the AI cores inside our hidden shipyards have awakened. Did someone hack them? No. They're following a higher-level authorization. President Brooks frowned. Whose authorization? The general swallowed hard. It says, First Civilization Command. The room fell silent. Everyone slowly turned toward Astra. Astra remained calm. I apologize for entering your systems without permission. Ethan stepped forward. You activated our fleet. Correct. How? Because your engineers unknowingly built them using our technology. Confused murmurs echoed throughout the chamber. Our technology? Maya asked. Astra nodded. The Crystal Archivist Solka gave Commander Hayes wasn't merely a key. It was a recognition device. It identified humanity as ready. Millions of kilometers away, deep beneath Antarctica, massive armored doors that had remained sealed for decades slowly opened. Engineers watched in disbelief as automated factories came alive. Assembly drones filled the air. Fusion reactors roared. Gigantic warships began rising from underground docks. No human had ever seen them completed before. They were beautiful and terrifying. One young engineer whispered, We didn't build these. An older scientist quietly replied, "We only finished what someone else started." Back inside the Council Citadel, VA Rex finally regained his composure. He pointed toward Astra. "You expect anyone to believe this fantasy? The first civilization disappeared millions of years ago." Astra looked directly at him. "We disappeared. We were never defeated." The Chancellor laughed. "If you were so powerful, why hide?" Astra's silver eyes darkened. "Because power always creates followers. And followers eventually create empires. We refuse to become gods." At that moment, a violent explosion shook the Citadel. One of the Council's defense stations had been destroyed, not by Astra's fleet, by another force. A terrified officer screamed, "Unknown hyperspace signatures." Another fleet emerged from the darkness. Unlike Astra's sleek black ships, these vessels looked savage, covered in spikes, scarred from countless wars. Blood-red engines illuminated the void. Even VA-Rex's face turned pale. "No, they're here." Ethan looked at him. "Who?" The Chancellor whispered one name. "The Car Dominion." Archivist Solka closed his eyes. "The destroyers." Maya frowned. "Another empire?" Solka slowly shook his head. "They aren't an empire. They're extinction." Within seconds, the Car Dominion opened fire. Not just at Astra's fleet. Not just at the Council. Everything. Space stations exploded. Council warships vanished in massive fireballs. Civilian transports scattered in panic. The galaxy's greatest political capital became a battlefield. Astra remained completely calm. "They've arrived earlier than expected." Ethan looked at her. "You knew they were coming?" "For centuries." President Brooks interrupted through the secure channel. "Ethan, we're detecting the same fleet moving toward human space. Estimated arrival." She hesitated. 36 hours. Maya's heart sank. "They're coming for Earth." Astra turned toward Ethan. "The Council believed humanity would one day threaten their power. They were wrong." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" "They were never your greatest enemy." She enlarged a holographic map of the Milky Way. Red sectors spread across dozens of star systems. The Car Dominion doesn't conquer. They erase. Entire civilizations vanished from the map. One after another. No survivors. No prisoners. No negotiations. "They've destroyed over 400 civilizations." Maya whispered. "And nobody stopped them?" Astra answered quietly. "We did. But eventually, we lost." Those words shocked everyone. Even the first civilization had been defeated. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Project Prometheus continued activating. One enormous battleship slowly emerged from the water, nearly 12 kilometers long. Its black armor reflected the sunrise. Painted across its hull were two symbols: the silver crest of the first civilization, and beneath it, a freshly painted blue emblem. Earth. Workers stood speechless. No one had ordered that symbol. The ship had chosen it. General Reed transmitted live footage to Ethan. "Commander, I think you should see this." Hundreds of hidden warships were leaving underground hangars across Earth. Moon bases, Mars, asteroid shipyards, even forgotten mining colonies. Humanity hadn't secretly built dozens of ships. They had built thousands. Ethan looked stunned. "We've been preparing for 20 years. President Brooks slowly nodded. "And apparently, someone else has been preparing even longer." Suddenly, every human warship received the same transmission. A calm artificial voice echoed across every bridge. "Human Defense Fleet recognized. Commander Ethan Hayes. Supreme Command Authority transferred." Every captain froze. Admiral Kane nearly dropped his tablet. President Brooks stared at Ethan through the hologram. "I didn't authorize that. Neither had anyone else." Ethan looked toward Astra. "You planned this." She shook her head. "No. The fleet made its own decision. The ARC protocol chooses only one commander." "Why me?" For the first time, Astra smiled. "Because when your people were mocked, you chose patience. When innocent lives were lost, you chose responsibility. When offered revenge, you chose protection." She stepped closer. "The ARC does not follow the strongest. It follows the one who protects others." Without warning, every light inside the Citadel went dark. Long-range sensors screamed to life. An officer shouted, "They're here." Everyone rushed toward the observation deck. The Car Dominion's main fleet had arrived. Not thousands of ships. Not tens of thousands. Millions. The stars themselves disappeared behind an endless wall of black metal. Humanity had never imagined such numbers were possible. Even Astra's expression changed. For the first time, she looked worried. Ethan quietly asked, "Can we win?" Astra didn't answer immediately. Finally she spoke. If humanity had remained alone. No. But now, she looked toward Earth's newly awakened fleet. The galaxy has one final chance. Far across the void, the colossal flagship of the Car Dominion slowly rotated toward Earth. Then a single message echoed across every known communication network. Species, human. Threat level updated. Priority 1, extermination. No one on Earth celebrated. Not after the message. Every screen, every satellite, every military command center displayed the same chilling words. Species, human. Priority 1, extermination. For a few seconds, the entire planet fell silent. Children stopped playing. News anchors forgot their scripts. Millions simply stared at the sky. Humanity had officially become the greatest target in the galaxy. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, the Global Defense Council assembled for what everyone knew could be humanity's final war meeting. President Eleanor Brooks stood before the holographic map. Millions of red markers advanced toward the solar system. General Marcus Reed broke the silence. Estimated enemy fleet. He hesitated. 1.8 million warships. The room remained quiet. No one gasped. The number was simply too large to comprehend. Commander Ethan Hayes, speaking live from the flagship Ark Vanguard, asked the only question that mattered. Our fleet. General Reed answered. 38,000 combat vessels. Someone whispered. So we're outnumbered almost 50 to 1. Ethan nodded. Then we'll have to fight smarter. Above Earth, thousands of newly awakened human warships emerged from hidden orbital hangars. For decades they had remained buried beneath oceans, mountains, and abandoned lunar facilities. Now they floated together for the first time. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, railgun battleships, drone command vessels. The largest fleet humanity had ever possessed. Yet against the Car Dominion, it still looked painfully small. Astra stood beside Ethan on the bridge of the Ark Vanguard. Its bridge was unlike any human ship. No buttons, no physical controls, only floating holograms responding to thought. The Ark fleet is synchronized, Astra said calmly. Every captain is awaiting your command. Ethan looked through the massive observation window. Beyond Mars, the darkness itself seemed alive. Millions of enemy ships blocked out the stars. For the first time in his military career, Commander Ethan Hayes felt fear. Not for himself, for Earth, for the billions of innocent people behind him. Suddenly, every human warship opened a secure communication channel. Faces appeared from hundreds of bridges. Young captains, veteran admirals, pilots barely out of training. Some smiled nervously. Others tried hiding their fear. Ethan activated the fleet-wide broadcast. My name is Commander Ethan Hayes. You all know why we're here. If we lose today, there won't be another fleet. There won't be another Earth. He paused. But remember something. We are not fighting because we hate what's in front of us. We're fighting because we love what's behind us. The silence that followed carried more weight than applause. Then every captain saluted. The Car Dominion moved first. Thousands of enormous carriers opened simultaneously. Millions of attack drones poured into space like a black tidal wave. They stretched across millions of kilometers. Lieutenant Maya Carter stared at the tactical display. They're trying to overwhelm us. Astra nodded. The car never duel. They consume. Launch all fighter wings. Ethan's order echoed across the fleet. Within seconds, more than 100,000 human starfighters burst from their carriers. Blue engine trails lit the darkness. The pilots knew many would never return. No one hesitated. The first collision came near Jupiter. Human railguns fired together. Thousands of tungsten slugs accelerated to impossible speeds. The front line of car drones shattered into clouds of burning metal. Cheers erupted across human communications. Then, the enemy adapted. The next wave altered formation. Railgun rounds passed harmlessly through empty space. They learned. Maya whispered. So quickly, enemy plasma fire flooded the battlefield. Human destroyers exploded one after another. One cruiser split completely in half. Escape pods scattered in every direction. Captain Sofia Ramirez watched her flagship burn. Her executive officer shouted, "Captain, we have to retreat." She slowly shook her head. "If we fall back, they reach Earth." She opened a fleet-wide channel. All remaining power to the forward railguns. Her damaged cruiser accelerated directly into the enemy formation. One final volley. 23 car ships vanished. A second later, the cruiser exploded. Silence filled the human command network. Ethan quietly removed his cap. Record their names. No one dies forgotten. The battle spread across the solar system. Near Saturn, human carriers dueled car assault fleets. Around Jupiter, drone swarms collided like storms. Near the moon, Earth's orbital defense cannons fired for the first time in history. Every planet became a battlefield. Hours passed. Humanity fought harder than any species Astra had ever witnessed. But courage couldn't change mathematics. Loss reports flooded the bridge. Destroyer Squadron 9 destroyed. Carrier Group 7 lost. 46,000 fighter casualties. Moon defense shield at 60%. Maya looked at Ethan. We're losing. He already knew. Inside the car flagship, Supreme Warlord Vorkal observed the battle without emotion. The giant warrior stood nearly 4 meters tall. His black armor was scarred from centuries of conquest. An officer approached. The humans continue resisting. Vorkal answered coldly. They all do. Until they don't. He turned toward Earth. Prepare the planet breakers. Back on the Ark Vanguard, long-range sensors detected something enormous. General Reed's voice trembled. Commander, I'm detecting 12 unidentified objects. The hologram zoomed in. They weren't ships. They were weapons. Each one larger than Earth's moon. Astra's calm expression disappeared. No. Ethan looked at her. What are they? She answered in almost a whisper. Planet breakers. The room froze. Astra enlarged one of the objects. Ancient symbols covered its surface. It doesn't invade planets. It destroys them. One impact. One planet gone. No survivors. Maya stared in disbelief. They're going to destroy Earth. Astra nodded. They've done it hundreds of times. President Brooks appeared on the emergency channel. Her face remained calm despite the chaos. If those weapons reach Earth, what are our options? No one answered. Finally, Ethan spoke. We intercept them. General Reed looked horrified. Commander, those things are surrounded by 500,000 enemy ships. I know. It's suicide. Ethan gave a faint smile. Probably. He looked toward every captain listening across the fleet. Who's with me? Before anyone else could respond, every single human commander activated their signal. One after another. Then another. Within seconds, 38,000 green lights filled the tactical display. Not one ship refused. Not one captain turned away. Astra watched in silence. After millions of years, she finally understood why the Archive had chosen humanity. Ethan took a deep breath. All fleets. Full attack formation. We're not defending Earth anymore. We're hunting planet breakers. 38,000 human warships accelerated together. Blue engines ignited across the darkness. The largest charge in human history had begun. Far across the battlefield, Supreme Warlord Vorkal watched the advancing fleet. For the first time in centuries, he smiled. They still believe they can win. Then one of his officers suddenly shouted, My lord, unknown hyperspace signatures behind our fleet. Vorkal turned sharply. What? The tactical display flickered. A second force had entered the battle. Not human. Not car. Not the first civilization. Over 500,000 unidentified warships emerged from hyperspace. Flying the flags of civilizations the Galactic Council had declared extinct thousands of years ago. The battlefield fell silent. Not because the war had ended, but because everyone, human, car, and Galactic Council alike, was staring at the impossible. 500,000 warships emerged from hyperspace. Their hulls carried symbols no one had seen for thousands of years. The banners of civilizations the Galactic Council had declared extinct. Commander Ethan Hayes narrowed his eyes. They are alive. Astra's silver eyes widened. No, they survived. Across the car command ship, Supreme Warlord Vorkal stepped toward the tactical display. Identify the new fleet. His officers scanned desperately. No records, my lord. No engine signatures. No active communications. Vorkal's expression darkened. Unknown fleets don't survive this long. Then, every communication system across the battlefield activated at once. A calm female voice echoed through millions of ships. This is Admiral Lyra Voss, commander of the Ghost Fleet. Our message is for Commander Ethan Hayes. Ethan stepped toward the bridge console. This is Hayes. A hologram appeared. A woman in dark silver armor. Her face carried countless battle scars. Behind her stood officers from dozens of different alien races. She smiled faintly. So, the archive finally found humanity. Maya whispered. Who are these people? Astra answered quietly. The last survivors. Admiral Lyra continued. 3,000 years ago, the Galactic Council betrayed every civilization that refused to obey. They destroyed our worlds. Or so the galaxy believed. Behind her, holographic images appeared. Burning planets. Evacuating civilians. Hidden fleets disappearing into deep space. We escaped. We waited. We prepared. For this day, inside the Council Citadel, delegates stared in horror. Some recognized the symbols. One elderly ambassador collapsed to his knees. It can't be. We watched your worlds burn. Lyra's voice became cold. You watched. You did nothing. Commander Ethan looked toward Astra. You knew about them. She nodded. I hoped they still existed. Without warning, the Ghost Fleet accelerated. 500,000 warships charged directly into the car flank. The impact was devastating. Massive ion cannons ripped through enemy formations. Ancient gravity weapons crushed entire squadrons. For the first time, the car battle lines broke. Human bridges erupted in cheers. General Reed laughed in disbelief. They're actually pushing them back. Ethan didn't celebrate. Too easy. Maya looked confused. What do you mean? The car haven't shown everything. As if answering him, Supreme Warlord Vorkal slowly smiled. Release them. His officer hesitated. My lord, they're unfinished. Vorkal's eyes narrowed. They're hungry. Deep inside the largest car carriers. Gigantic containment doors opened. Darkness poured out. Not ships. Creatures. Living weapons. Each over 200 meters long. Covered in black armor. 6 glowing crimson eyes. They moved through space without engines. Ignoring physics. Astra's face turned pale. No. The Void Titans. One Titan slammed into a Ghost Fleet cruiser. Its claws tore through reinforced armor like paper. Within seconds, the cruiser exploded. Another Titan swallowed an entire human destroyer. Emergency beacons vanished instantly. Maya whispered, What are those things? Astra answered softly. They're not machines. They're not animals. They're engineered nightmares. Across the battlefield, chaos returned. Human railguns barely slowed the creatures. Missiles exploded harmlessly against their armor. Ghost Fleet plasma weapons burned deep wounds. But the Titans regenerated within seconds. Captain Daniel Cho shouted from his carrier. We can't stop them. Ethan activated Fleet Command. Focus all heavy weapons on a single target. Thousands of cannons fired together. One Void Titan disappeared inside a storm of explosions. Silence. Maya slowly shook her head. No. There has to be another way. Astra looked away. There never was. 3 Void Titans entered Earth's orbit. The Moon Defense Fleet opened fire. Entire stations exploded. One Titan reached the orbital elevator. Millions watched live as it began tearing the structure apart. President Brooks whispered, We're out of time. Ethan looked around the bridge. Every officer understood. No one spoke. Maya's eyes filled with tears. You promised that little engineer. We wouldn't die today. Ethan smiled sadly. I know. He looked toward the blue planet hanging outside the bridge. The home he had sworn to protect. Then he placed his hand on the glowing crystal. If one life saves 8 billion, that's not sacrifice. That's duty. The Ark's core suddenly ignited with blinding white light. Across the battlefield, every human ship detected an energy surge unlike anything ever recorded. Supreme Warlord Vorkal's smile vanished. Silence. Maya slowly shook her head. No. There has to be another way. Astra looked away. There never was. 3 Void Titans entered Earth's orbit. The Moon Defense Fleet opened fire. Entire stations exploded. One Titan reached the orbital elevator. Millions watched live as it began tearing the structure apart. President Brooks whispered, We're out of time. Ethan looked around the bridge. Every officer understood. No one spoke. Maya's eyes filled with tears. You promised that little engineer. We wouldn't die today. Ethan smiled sadly. I know. He looked toward the blue planet hanging outside the bridge. The home he had sworn to protect. Then he placed his hand on the glowing crystal. If one life saves 8 billion, that's not sacrifice. That's duty. The Ark's core suddenly ignited with blinding white light. Across the battlefield, Every human ship detected an energy surge unlike anything ever recorded. Supreme Warlord Vorkal's smile vanished. His sensors displayed only two impossible words. Genesis Protocol. Activated. The moment Commander Ethan Hayes pressed his hand against the glowing crystal, time itself seemed to stop. Across millions of kilometers of battlefield, every weapon fell silent. Railguns stopped firing. Missiles froze in space. Even the monstrous Void Titans paused, their crimson eyes fixed on the Ark Vanguard. A wave of pure white energy expanded outward like a heartbeat. Not destructive, ancient, alive. Every sensor in the galaxy overloaded. On Earth's surface, people looked toward the heavens. The stars had disappeared. In their place was a brilliant white light stretching across the sky. A little boy standing beside the ruins of a hospital whispered, "Mom, is that the sun?" His mother pulled him close. "No, I think that's humanity." Inside the Ark Vanguard, Ethan could barely breathe. The crystal dissolved into thousands of glowing particles surrounding his body. Memories that weren't his flooded his mind. Millions of years. Thousands of civilizations. Countless wars. He saw the rise of the first civilization. He saw them create the Ark fleet, not as weapons of conquest, but as guardians against extinction. He saw the birth of the Car Dominion, and he witnessed the terrible mistake that had allowed them to survive. A voice echoed inside his mind. "Commander Ethan Hayes, do you accept the burden of the Ark?" He closed his eyes. "I do." The answer changed everything. The Ark Vanguard transformed. Its black armor unfolded like living metal. Brilliant white patterns spread across the hull. The ship grew larger, longer, more powerful. Every damaged section repaired itself instantly. Human officers stared in disbelief. Captain Lewis whispered, "This isn't the same ship anymore." Astra smiled through tears. "No, it's finally awake." Across the battlefield, every human vessel suddenly connected to the Ark through streams of white light. Weapons recharged. Shields regenerated. Destroyed communication systems came back online. Pilots who had lost navigation instantly regained control. General Marcus Reed looked at his tactical display. "Our fleet. It's repairing itself." Even heavily damaged Ghost Fleet ships began regenerating. Admiral Lyra Voss laughed for the first time in decades. The legends were true. Supreme Warlord Vorkal slammed his fist into the command console. "What is happening?" His chief strategist answered nervously. "My lord, the Ark fleet has entered its final state." Vorkal growled. "Impossible. The first civilization died millions of years ago." Before anyone could respond, the Ark Vanguard fired. No cannon emerged. No missile launched. A single pulse of white energy swept across the battlefield. Everything it touched changed. Every Void Titan simply stopped. Their bodies cracked like stone, one after another. The giant monsters shattered into glowing dust. Not one survived. Human communication channels exploded with disbelief. "We destroyed them. The Titans are gone. We actually did it." But Ethan wasn't celebrating. He could feel the Ark drawing energy from him. Every second, his heartbeat became weaker. His vision blurred. The Genesis Protocol wasn't just using his life. It was consuming it. Maya Carter rushed toward him. "Ethan, you don't look good." He forced a smile. "I've been better." She grabbed his arm. "We'll find another way." "There isn't one." "No, there has to be." Astra quietly lowered her head. "There never has been." Outside, the Car Dominion launched everything they had left. Hundreds of thousands of warships charged together. The final assault. Vorkal roared across every car communication channel. "Destroy Earth. Kill the commander. Leave nothing alive." The black tide surged forward. Ethan slowly stood. His legs trembled. He looked at every officer on the bridge. "We finished this." Every crew member nodded. No fear remained. Only purpose. "Ark fleet," Ethan said quietly. "Advance." 38,000 human warships accelerated together. Behind them came the Ghost Fleet. Behind them came Astra's ancient guardians. For the first time in galactic history, every free civilization fought as one. The two fleets collided. Space itself seemed to tear apart. Railguns thundered. Gravity weapons crushed entire formations. Planet-sized explosions illuminated the darkness. Human fighter pilots flew directly through impossible odds, protecting ships twice their size. One by one, the car fleet began collapsing. Then Ethan saw him. Supreme Warlord Vorkal. The massive flagship was cutting through the battlefield, heading directly toward Earth. If he reaches the planet, Maya finished the sentence. Everything ends. Without hesitation, Ethan ordered. Set course. The Ark Vanguard accelerated alone, straight toward the enemy flagship. Millions watched the impossible duel. One ship against the ruler of the Kar Dominion. Vorkal appeared on the main screen. The giant warrior laughed. So, the human finally comes to die? Ethan answered calmly. No. I'm here to make sure you do. The two flagships opened fire simultaneously. White energy collided with black plasma. The shockwave destroyed hundreds of nearby warships from both sides. Warning alarms screamed. The Ark's shields began failing. Vorkal's flagship lost entire sections of armor. Neither commander backed down. Inside the Ark, Astra looked at the life monitor connected to Ethan. Her expression changed. Maya noticed immediately. What is it? Astra whispered. The Genesis Protocol has less than 5 minutes remaining. Maya's heart stopped. What happens after that? Astra couldn't answer. She didn't need to. Everyone already knew. Ethan looked once more at Earth through the bridge window. The blue world still stood. Still fighting. Still alive. He smiled. Quietly. Proudly. Then he gave one final command. Open a direct collision course. Captain Lewis stared at him. You mean? Yes. The Ark becomes the weapon. The bridge fell silent. No one argued. No one protested. Every officer simply stood and saluted their commander. As the Ark Vanguard accelerated toward Vorkal's flagship at impossible speed, a hidden warning suddenly appeared on Ethan's command display. One line. One message. One impossible revelation. Genesis Protocol error. Second compatible commander detected. Identity unknown. The battlefield had become a sea of fire. Millions of wrecked warships drifted silently through space. Burning debris illuminated the darkness like dying stars. At the center of it all, the Ark Vanguard raced toward Supreme Warlord Vorkal's flagship. Commander Ethan Hayes never took his eyes off the collision course. Then, the warning flashed again. Second compatible commander detected. Identity confirmed. Astra. The bridge fell silent. Ethan slowly turned toward Astra. You knew? Astra lowered her eyes. I suspected. You could have activated Genesis yourself? Yes. And you let me do it. A tear rolled down her cheek. The Ark must be commanded by the species it protects. My time ended millions of years ago. This is humanity's future. Before Ethan could answer, the Ark's AI spoke once more. Dual command protocol available. Life energy may be shared between two compatible commanders. Astra looked up in shock. That protocol. It shouldn't exist. The AI answered calmly. Protocol unlocked through human behavioral evolution. Maya frowned. What does that mean? The AI replied. Previous civilizations accepted sacrifice. Humanity chose to share it. Ethan smiled. So neither of us has to die alone. Astra stepped beside him. For the first time in millions of years, the last guardian of the first civilization stood beside the first guardian of humanity. Together, they placed their hands on the Ark core. Brilliant white light flooded the bridge. The Genesis protocol stabilized. Ethan could breathe again. The Ark no longer drained one life. It drew strength from two willing guardians. Across the battlefield, the Ark Vanguard transformed one final time. Its wings expanded across thousands of meters. 6 massive rings of white energy formed around the ship. Every human captain watched in awe. General Marcus Reed whispered, It's beautiful. Admiral Lyra Voss smiled. No, it's hope. Supreme Warlord Vorkal finally looked worried. His officers shouted over one another. My lord, the Ark's power output is increasing. Our weapons can't lock on. Our shields are failing. Vorkal roared. All ships, destroy them. The remaining Kar fleet surged forward. Hundreds of thousands of warships fired simultaneously. Black plasma filled the void. The Ark didn't dodge. A sphere of white light surrounded it. Every blast disappeared before reaching the hull. Not absorbed. Erased. The AI spoke calmly. Guardian authority confirmed. Final judgment available. A holographic screen appeared before Ethan. Only 2 options. Destroy the Kar Dominion. Or offer surrender. Maya stared at him. They tried to wipe us out. They destroyed hundreds of civilizations. They deserve to die. The bridge waited. Ethan remembered the little girl who had once asked him, Were you supposed to protect them? He remembered Captain Sofia Ramirez. The Atlas Dawn. Earth. Every sacrifice. Then he quietly answered. We didn't fight to become monsters. He selected. Offer surrender. Across every car warship, one message appeared. Lay down your weapons. The war ends now. For a moment, nothing happened. Then thousands of car ships powered down. Crews abandoned their weapons. But Vorkal never intended to surrender. His flagship secretly charged its planet breaker cannon. Astra's eyes widened. Ethan, he lied. The massive weapon fired directly toward Earth. There wasn't enough time. The beam crossed millions of kilometers in seconds. Without hesitation, the Ark Vanguard jumped between Earth and the blast. The white shield held for 3 endless seconds. Then cracks spread across it. The Ark's alarm screamed. Core overload. 97%. 98%. 99%. Ethan looked at Astra. She nodded. Together, they released every remaining ounce of Genesis energy. A pillar of white light erupted from the Ark. It swallowed the planet breaker beam, continued forward, and struck Vorkal's flagship. For the first time in history, the ruler of the Car Dominion looked afraid. He whispered, Impossible. The flagship dissolved into pure light. Without their leader, the remaining car fleet shut down. The war was over. Silence spread across the stars. Then, human communication channels exploded. Cheers, laughter, tears. People embraced across Earth. Children ran into the streets. Church bells rang. Space stations broadcast one message to every colony. Earth survives. Weeks later, representatives from hundreds of civilizations gathered once again inside the Galactic Council citadel. This time, there were no thrones, no rulers, no empires, only equals. VA Rex and the surviving corrupt council leaders stood before an interstellar tribunal. Their crimes, betrayal, genocide, and manipulation, were exposed to the entire galaxy. Justice, delayed for thousands of years, had finally arrived. Outside the rebuilt citadel, a new monument overlooked the stars. It wasn't a statue of a king or a conqueror. It showed a human commander standing beside Astra. 2 guardians. 1 future. Below it were engraved the words, Strength wins battles. Compassion wins civilizations. Months later, Commander Ethan Hayes stood on a quiet hill overlooking Earth. The scars of war were healing. Cities were being rebuilt. The moon had become a symbol of resilience. Maya walked beside him. So, what now? Ethan smiled. The galaxy spent thousands of years fearing strength. It's time they learned to trust hope. Above them, the Ark fleet entered peaceful formation. No longer an army. Now, a shield, protecting every free civilization, far beyond the edge of known space. In a forgotten region where no star had ever been mapped, a single red light slowly opened. An ancient machine awakened. Its cold mechanical voice echoed through the darkness. Car Dominion. Destroyed. Primary directive failed. A pause. Then, awaken the makers. Thousands of colossal silhouettes began moving in the void. A new war, far greater than the last, had just begun. Humanity was never the oldest civilization. It was never the most powerful, and it never possessed the greatest technology. But when every other species chose fear, humanity chose courage. When others surrendered, humanity stood its ground. And when the galaxy needed a guardian, Earth answered the call. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community of HFY fans. Because out there, beyond the edge of known space, another threat is already awakening. And Commander Ethan Hayes' greatest battle may still be waiting. Until next time, remember one thing. Never underestimate humanity. See you in the next HFY adventure. Rocket.